Husker Sports Network programming begins in 3 minutes. Husker Sports Network programming begins in 2 minutes. And this is our final time check. The network will go silent for the final 1 minute. Husker Sports Network programming begins in 1 minute.
Welcome to Sports Nightly with Jessica Coody. I'm Bill Dolman. It is hour number 1, July 15th, 2021, and here are some of today's sports headlines. We begin from the only in Nebraska file. Tickets for the Husker volleyball team's red-white scrimmage on August 21st went on sale this morning at 10 a.m. After about 5 hours, 5,500 tickets of the 8,000 available have been sold. 5,500 tickets in 5 hours. The game that doesn't count unless you have a strong affinity for scarlet or cream is set for Saturday, August 21st at 6 p.m. Tickets are $10 while they last. Go to huskers.com/tickets or call 1-800-8-BIG-RED. Bad news from Amsterdam in volleyball news. At the U20 World Championships, the United States and its trio of Huskers dropped a 5-set match to the host Netherlands in their final game in second-round pool play. The U.S. rallied from 2 down to tie, but lost 15-10 in the 5th. Lindsey Krause had 8 kills. Ali Batenhorst was held to just 5. And Lexi Rodriguez had a team-high 10 digs, which they are now counting. The matchups for Saturday have yet to be set as of this moment. The NBA Finals continued last night with Milwaukee protecting home court and evening the best of their 7-game series at 2 games apiece. Game 5 will be Saturday in Phoenix. Team USA's men's basketball team has lost Bradley Beal to COVID. He will not play in the Olympics. A replacement for the Washington Wizards guard has not been named. Greg Popovich might need another on speed dial because Jermani Grant has entered protocol status. Thus, his status for the games in Tokyo is currently in limbo at this moment. The Major League Baseball schedule is supposed to resume tonight with one game, Boston at the New York Yankees, probably going to be on national TV. That game has been postponed to allow for more COVID testing and tracing with those teams. A full slate is scheduled for tomorrow. And another sign that the football season is inching closer and closer. Big 12 football media days are underway in Dallas. The Big Ten's Canned Quote Fest will be held next week in Indianapolis, and those are some of today's headlines.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time.
Little chopper, right back to Schwellenbach, throws to first, in time. Huskers make it 9 in a row as they take game one. A terrific pitching performance on both sides for Nebraska. Povich, Buns, Schwellenbach combine on the shutout. Povich gets the win. Schwellenbach his 8th save, and Nebraska takes game one of this series, a final of 1-0.
Povich was as good as I've ever seen him today. The fastball had life to it. The changeup had a lot of late life to it as well. Looking the same out of the hand. He threw the curveball, the slider, and the cutter. I mean, he threw 5 different pitches today, all for strikes. Very competitive, looked like an ace, and we needed every bit of it today.
Sports Nightly is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office, who reminds you to buckle up and put the phone down. Here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Bill Dolman on the Huskers Radio Network.
And hi, everyone. Welcome into this Thursday edition of Sports Nightly with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. If there was 2 guests that we could bring on a show to match or compete with what we did last night, we've got them lined up for today for you. Tom Osborne coming up at about 6:25. Jordan Larson, a couple of goats for you today. 7:20 in the second hour. You're not going to want to miss that. Jordan was fantastic. We talked to her yesterday before all the breaking news happened. Just a little bit of news yesterday as Trev Alberts was named the new athletic director here at Nebraska. But fantastic conversation. All things talking about Olympics, what Nebraska meant to her. Exciting conversation. You'll want to make sure and keep it right here for that. Yeah, while you're trying to get your tickets to the Husker Red-White game, you can go online and wait for our Jordan Larson interview. I know. I did want to bring that up because you had it in your news headlines. I love this tweet from Joel Tier that commented when Husker volleyball posted about, tickets being on sale. He said, "This might be the toughest team Nebraska faces all year." Which we talked about. You're talking about probably 2 top 15 lineups that are going to be going against each other. Could be anywhere else in the country. Yeah, but how about that? 5,500 people in about amazing. 5 hours. And that was, I made that call a couple hours ago. So who knows how many more tickets have been sold since then. But for a game that doesn't count, they're expecting another sellout at the Devaney Center to watch it. I know, and we had John Cook on the show last night. Had a few people tweeting and messaging about where they could listen to that. It is now up on the podcast pages, so you can hear that full interview. And I got to tell you, my parents are big fans of John Cook after last night. They love that he was giving me all kinds of hard times. They weren't able to put you in your place, but John Cook, in his first interview with Jessica Coody, was in a playful mood yesterday. It was great to hear him so relaxed. He'll get a little more tense as we get into September, October, November, and then relaxed in December. But he was great. It was fun to talk with him and get his perspective on Trev. But also, he mentioned that scrimmage 2 years ago was sold out, and sure enough, it looks like it's going to be the case again. Well, hit us up on our Woodhouse Auto Family Hotline. Phone lines are open. Shoot us your texts. We love hearing from you guys. 402-413-2400. And, should be a fun show again today. A couple other things that I want to get to in your headlines. You mentioned the Big 12 Media Days that are taking place right now. And Media Day is going to be taking place pretty much almost from here on out through the rest of July. The Big 10 coming up next week. I have the schedule here. So Big 12 was yesterday and today, and then we have SEC coming up July 19th through the 22nd, ACC 21st and 22nd, Big 10 22nd and 23rd, Pac-12 is July 27th. So we're going to be having some headlines from all these conferences coming out, but it started with the Big 12. And how about the headline coming out today about, which I did experience at the College World Series this year with Texas playing the horns down the whole time. That is now a big no-no. You're going to get a big penalty for that. It's almost refreshing.
That's the big story out of media days, as opposed to, well, Lincoln Riley said his team's going to take him one game at a time, and Chris Kleeman said his team's going to give 110%. Somebody else saying, third downs and turnovers are going to be key. Nope, the big story out of the Big 12
Today.
and Jerry World, where they're having it on the field of the Cowboys Stadium, is don't be mean to Texas.
Crazy, yeah. And so I know Husker fans will appreciate this. So, Barry Switzer had something to say about that. And if this is not the Barry Switzer quote of all Barry Switzer quotes, when he was asked about it by The Athletic.
Hold on. 7-second delay intact?
I'm not gonna
okay.
say that.
All right, go ahead.
He said that's BS, which, read between the lines there. Horns down is part of the history of the game. It's a natural reaction. It's like someone gives you the finger, you give them the finger back, right? Well, if someone does a horns up, you do a horns down back at them.
Yep, that's Barry, and that's, I think, how probably 99% of the people outside of the Republic of Texas feel about the whole thing. I've lived in Houston on 2 different occasions, and I'll be honest, I love Texas. I love Houston, second hometown, I guess you could say, like Fairbury. But they had these shirts made up back I was there after I left Nebraska. There were these T-shirts down there, Psalm 75:10. The horns of the wicked shall be cut off. So I'm not sure if you can sell those in the state of Texas now or whatever, but it had the long horn and had the horns cut off and biblical, so.
What was the exact role, or what the director of officials or head of officials said? If you do a horn sound to a player, it's definitely a foul. If you do it to the crowd, it's
probably okay.
But
probably
take your
okay.
chances.
So, and you just got here from Oklahoma. They have like classes on that, I believe, at OU on how to do the horns down. And it might be like a minor that, people take classes. How do you treat, and Barry Switzer might be a guest lecturer in terms of how you gesture to Texas fans.
The thing is, it's not just Oklahoma. You look at all the teams that Texas plays. When they do, like Barry said, when they do the horns up, everybody does the horns down when they're playing Texas.
But, I don't remember that being that big of a deal. Like I said, 20 years ago, I saw the T-shirt and thought, okay, everybody around Texas, outside of Austin, hates Texas. Okay, I get it. Texas A&M and Houston and Baylor and everybody. Okay, I got it. But the horns down thing seems to be really something that has kind of been nurtured and gotten a lot bigger in the last 5-10 years or something like that. And
Texas got their feelings hurt that people were,
if
doing the
they
horns
hadn't
down.
said something, it probably would not have been that big of a deal. I just was like, when did this become a thing, a nationwide thing?
Well, that was the big storyline coming out of Big 12 Media Days.
Well,
today.
what's going to happen now? Everybody's going to walk into Dallas, horns down, and it's going to be even bigger now.
The other big storyline that I saw a lot yesterday, which we didn't have time to talk about yesterday, but again, bringing up the 11 a.m. Kickoff with Oklahoma and Nebraska. Commissioner Bob Bowlesby was asked about it, and he basically said, hey, we signed a TV deal. That's part of it. Basically no sympathy for it. Of course, when the kickoff time was announced, Joe Castiglione put out that he was very disappointed and that, they tried to, with the 50th anniversary of the game of the century, they really wanted it to be underneath the lights, a primetime kickoff. And with Fox's deal, their big game is at that big noon kickoff, 11 a.m. kickoff. And so Oklahoma fans certainly not happy about it. But, that was kind of another thing that was brought up yesterday is again, the kickoff time between Oklahoma and Nebraska.
If you want the TV money, you got to accept the TV rules. And is that a great time? No. And I think Nebraska fans are tired of playing games at 11 o'clock. When I was growing up, every game kicked off at 1:30. There were no lights at Memorial Stadium or anywhere. But there have been so many early kickoffs for Nebraska fans, just out of a matter of convenience, that's getting kind of old. And especially for the businesses that make their money. Let's get them downtown and let them spend some cash. But, yeah, this game, does it deserve to be in a marquee position? Yes. But when you look at the history of Fox's college football schedule, primarily their main game has been early in the day, like at 11 o'clock. And you say there are other reasons why Texas and Oklahoma have kicked off at 11, and that certainly makes sense, that you want people on their best behavior so that they aren't going downtown Dallas for too long. But The other thing with the Fox deal is they have a major contract with Major League Baseball. And I'm not sure if the playoffs will be on at that time or if you're going to be getting into the pennant races, but there's going to be a primetime Major League Baseball game, and Rob Manfred is not going to say, you know what, yeah, we'll put the Red Sox and the Yankees off so that Nebraska – that's just not going to happen. Or you put it on FS2 and have it at 7 o'clock, and then Nebraska and Oklahoma are not going to be happy about that either.
Well, Fox's messaging, when you said, you know, being a primetime game or an idol, Fox's messaging is that this is our big game. Our big game. They have dedicated the last couple of years that their primetime game is at big noon, because they have the big noon kickoff show that leads into that hour before to compete with College Game Day. And so, you know, and the ratings, it's proven to have been beneficial for Fox to move that game where they're not competing a primetime game against the game of the week on ESPN, on ABC. But, yeah, I mean, it's their big game. So it's not ideal time, but it is the biggest game for Fox that week is Oklahoma and Nebraska. And it just so happens to be their time slot is at 11 a.m.
I would bet the Fox people put the schedule out and were surprised at the blowback. You're like, well, yeah, this is our big game, like you say, and their college football show is actually pretty good, and it has made inroads to ESPN. But I would bet when Joe Castiglione or whomever, you didn't really hear much out of the Nebraska camp, and I'm not going to get into the other stuff, but you really didn't hear much about Nebraska with an 11 a.m. kickoff. Maybe it's because we've had so many of them recently, but I bet that they were caught off guard by, well, yeah, this is our big game.
I don't think they care if the ratings are, you know, I don't really think they probably care what fan bases say if their ratings are decent, you know? I mean, I totally understand it, which it's crazy because a lot of players maintain that they don't want to sit. They love playing underneath the lights, don't get me wrong, but sitting around all day, a lot of them don't like to do that and wait to kick off late at night. But, you know, the ratings have proved that because all eyes are going to be on that game, you know, because there's not really any other, you know, great games usually that are going on at 11 a.m. Right. So it's a selling point in the fact that this is a big national game and there's going to be all eyes on this game.
There is a elementary look at this. This would be kind of a TV formula. Fox is looking at it because ESPN forever has had that 11 a.m. kickoff with, it's always been kind of a Big Ten game, but it's a lesser game. And that game is the setup for the rest of the day's game. You know, they do a lot of promoting for whatever game is coming up after them on ESPN or promoting the 2:30 game on ABC, which has been kind of a marquee game in the past. Now, certainly they have their primetime game. But as you watch college football, and maybe it's just a television person watching it as I do, everything is geared to the primetime game. You know, yeah, we might have Purdue against Rutgers at 10, but we're going to be talking about Ohio State, Michigan coming up later or whatever the case might be. And everything is geared to the night game or the main game at 2:30. And so Fox looks at it and goes, we can't compete with 2:30, and we've got baseball at night. Let's put the marquee game on when we did. So I'm kind of like Fox a little bit, like, why is this the deal? But I guess it is. Because
the fans want to enjoy the day and not have to get up early, and they want to tailgate, and I totally understand that as well. Too. And, you know, I think, you know, again, just coming from Oklahoma, there is a lot of excitement building up towards this game for years since they announced the home and home series. And I think they were all hoping that this would be one of those games that was not going to be at 11 a.m. because there is a lot of respect there. And Oklahoma is excited that Nebraska is coming to Norman. And so the fact that it's kind of a little bit cut short because the lead up to the game, is cut short because, you get in there and 10 a.m. and whatever. So you got to get up at 5 a.m. to start tailgating, right. Or I guess keep it going from the night before.
I really think baseball is the stickler here. They're going to have a Major League Baseball game on that night. And again, I'm not sure if it's a playoff game, but it'll be a big prelude to the Major League Baseball playoffs, and that's really the thing.
Well, and I do think that that big noon kickoff, which sometimes they do it, a lot of times they do it in the studio in LA, but sometimes they'll take it on location to some of these big marquee games. And I did read that they are coming to Norman to lead up to that game. So
Yeah, I think it's good. And is Bob Stoops on that crew now?
Bob Stoops, is in the Urban Meyer role this year.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he'll be great, and he'll be good on television, and he'll get the Oklahoma fans fired up, and Nebraska fans will be mad that Bob Stoops is on there. Where's our guy? Maybe they can get Bo Pelini on there. He's not doing anything. But anyway, I think it's just set up the way Fox can set it up, and they're going to do it right with their pregame show, and so that's the way it is.
all right. Well, speaking of history and the game of the century, how about we get the GOAT on here next?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
We got to take our first time out here on Sports Nightly, but up next, Tom Osborne going to be joining us, talking all things. His former player Trev Alberts being named the new AD, and he gives Bill a little bit of a hard time as well, which you're not going to want to miss. So keep it here as we step aside. You are listening to Sports Nightly, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Transportation. Buckle up and put the phone down. A reminder from the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Go where the summer leads you during the Season of Discovery sales event at Woodhouse Mazda. With a full lineup of CUVs, we are sure to have one for you. From the 2021 Mazda CX-30 to the family-friendly Mazda CX-9, our sales staff is here to help find the perfect model for you. With a suite of features, you can expect more with Mazda at a price that is good for you. Test drive one today at one of our 2 convenient Woodhouse Mazda locations in Bellevue or Omaha, or shop online today.
Does it really matter where beef comes from? Meet the facts. Fact: Hy-Vee Choice Reserve beef comes from the Midwest, so you get only the highest quality beef raised on family farms here in the heartland. Where do the other guys get their beef? We're not sure either. Get the facts at meetthefacts.hyvee.com.
There is no better way to support your Huskers than becoming a season ticket holder. And a limited number of Nebraska football season tickets are on sale now. Secure your seat in Memorial Stadium for head coach Scott Frost's 4th season at the helm as the Huskers play host to Buffalo, Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, and more. Now is your chance to become part of the storied tradition that is Husker football. To purchase season tickets, call 1-800-8-BIG-RED.
As the official bank of Husker Nation, FNBO invites you to take the game with you with the free Husker Visa debit card. Tied to your checking account, the Husker Visa debit card allows fans to show their Husker pride all year long. Get your free Husker Visa debit card today at any FNBO branch or visit fnbo.com/Huskers. FNBO, the official bank of Husker Nation. Member FDIC.
Because Ford trucks and SUVs are built to help you every day, you made Ford America's best-selling brand. And now you can get great offers on the entire Ford lineup. Come see how at your local Ford store, based on 2019 calendar year total sales. There's a Ford built for everyone, whether it's the latest driver assist technologies, room to fit the whole family, or the power you need on the job site. Ford has you covered. Head to your Midwest Ford dealers today to find great deals on the right vehicle for you.
So, when do you think you'll be done with our kitchen renovation?
Well, ma'am, the Italian marble countertops will take a while to get in.
No problem. In the meantime, you can start on the spiral staircase.
What?
If you win Mega Millions from the Nebraska Lottery with a jackpot that starts in the millions in drawings Tuesdays and Fridays, you can afford to go a little mega.
So you want us to build a spiral staircase?
Well, how else are we supposed to get up to the helipad? Oh, good. My husband's home.
Top prize odds 1 in 302 million.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. Hit us up on our Woodhouse Auto Family Hotline, 402-413-2400, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. Well, we don't really need to chitter chatter any here, because we have a big guest now. Tom Osborne joined us yesterday after the news that Trev Alberts was named the new athletic director here at Nebraska, and an incredible conversation talking about why this is the guy for the job. So let's welcome in Tom Osborne right now. Osborne, first of all, just your thoughts on the hire today. Obviously, one of your former players, Trev Alberts. How excited were you for Trev to be named the next athletic director at the University of Nebraska?
Well, I think it's a great move. Trev obviously cares about Nebraska, cares about the state. And so I think that you'll get a guy who will work very hard at the job, and he knows the territory. Nebraska is not like every other state. I mean, it's not like Texas. It's not like USC. We don't have a huge number of people, but we have a very dedicated fan base. We have some history. It's somewhat fading into the past, but we do have at least some name recognition here, and so you always have to play to your strengths and maximize those things that you do well, and then try to compensate and work around the things that you don't have. And we were able to do that to some degree for a long time by trying to be innovative. We certainly maximize the strength training program, life skills, nutrition, some things that other people weren't necessarily doing. And of course, most schools are now doing those things. But still, we do have that fan base that is pretty unique. It's not exclusive. I mean, you've got a lot of rabid fan bases, but I'd say Nebraska certainly ranks in the top 5 or 6, and that's helpful. And we don't have another school. We don't have a Nebraska State, which is competition for the players that we do have. So we have that going, and we have a pretty good walk-on tradition that some coaches tried to ignore or downplay, and some didn't. And but it obviously something in a sparsely populated state you better take advantage of. So I think Trev knows those things, and he's got excellent character. He's not going to ever embarrass you. He's not going to lie to you, and he will really be supportive of coaches, not just football and men's basketball and women's basketball. He'll be supportive of all sports, and so I think it's about as good a hire as they could possibly make.
Coach, so much is being made about the future that we're going into in collegiate athletics and all of the changes within the NCAA and the name, image, and likeness and those kinds of things. But going back to the culture that you helped facilitate back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, what principles were at play back then that enabled Nebraska to be so successful on the field as well as internally? What principles can Trev utilize from then to his job now? Well, he hit on some of those things today. He used the term unity, and we generally had everybody going in the same direction. Some years more than others, but for the most part, we didn't have a lot of division within the football team, within the athletic department, within the state. And I think Trev understands that, and that's probably one of the first things that'll be important. He talked about trust, and that comes somewhat with time. But if you tell the truth and if you keep promises, then generally people will trust you. And I'm sure that's something that Trev will do. And so I think he'll certainly build a certain amount of trust. And with that comes culture. We had a lot of players who were willing to sacrifice. Of course, it's a different day and different era now because of the
of the name, image, and likeness deal, and there's so much emphasis now on what are you going to do for me, and but we had hardly anybody leave early for the NFL. People were loyal. A pretty good case in point would be Trev himself. Trev, in his senior year, was a clear-cut first-round pick, and he dislocated his elbow, which is a very, very painful injury, against Oklahoma in our last game. And, of course, at that point, he could have just said, well, you know, there's no use playing another game and risking further injury, or maybe not playing very well in the bowl game because of the injury and diminishing my draft stock. And we didn't do that. You know, he played, and I know he was in a lot of pain, but he played very well. And I think he sacked Charlie Ward a couple times, and was probably probably the best pass rusher we ever had. A tremendous first step, and so he's going to lay it on the line for you, and he's not going to make excuses. And if there's a problem, he'll own up to it, and I think people in Nebraska will appreciate that.
You heard him say in his press conference today, when he is asked about why he got into this career path and being an athletic director, and he credited you and some advice that you gave him about a life of service. And when you hear that, a former player, and then to see kind of the way that he's gone on his career path to be now a leader, the leader that he is, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's very nice. I think one of the nice things about coaching is that the wins and the losses and the games at some point end, but the relationships continue. And so there's very, very few weeks that I don't have some contact with one or two or three, sometimes 4 or 5 players. And so I really appreciate that. And Trev's one of those guys that I've stayed in touch with over the years. And I could tell during his time as a broadcaster, he was doing very well. I'm sure he was making a very good salary. But I could also tell that it wasn't always the most fulfilling thing to him. And so I just mentioned that I've observed a lot of people, and sometimes their whole focus has been on accumulation of wealth, accumulation of attention, notoriety, power sometimes. But it seems like the more that you grasp things to yourself, the more discontented quite often people are. And the more that you're able to serve and to give in some fashion, the more satisfying life is. And so I just mentioned that to him offhand. And I thought in a position as AD, he could do that. And apparently he felt the same way. And so he kind of switched gears, and he had some tough times at UNO because they were spending a lot of money they didn't have, and he realized that at some point people were going to call him into account. So he had to make some tough decisions early on, and I think he worked through that, and then he got him to a Division I program, and I think they're doing very well up there. And I think in the last several years, he's just people have come to understand what he did and accept him, and so he was probably had a much easier life last few years than he did in the first 3 or 4. But that's kind of the way athletics is. It's not always smooth sailing.
Coach, it's one thing to be a team captain on the football field, and he jumped into the AD role right away. There wasn't an assistant's job, an associate's job. He became the athletic director at UNO, and I'm guessing he probably leaned on you quite a bit early on. How have you seen him grow as a leader? Because he talked about leadership so much today, but to grow and to maximize his potential in that job at UNO.
Well, you know, it's kind of hard sometimes when you're in the middle of some things like he experienced at UNO to coach somebody through it. Either you've got some instincts, you've got some basic principles that you have within you that carry the day. And so I saw him handle things what I thought was very, very effectively. And so he certainly will do a great job, I think, from that standpoint of leadership. And, you know, being an athletic director is a strange job, because so often you are measured as an athletic director by how many games the teams that you're responsible for are won or lost. And but like you said, you know, you're not going to call a play, and you're probably not going to tell a coach you have to play this person and not play that person. And you really can't do the job by micromanaging. And so your reputation as an AD often simply rests on how well the people you hire do. And so I think he will find that the coaches are going to be really handled well and supported. And so all you can do as an AD is you support them. You try to make sure they have the equipment, the material, the salaries, and the things that they need that way financially. And you support them emotionally, because sometimes coaching is a very up and down business, and things don't always go smoothly. And so if you know that the athletic director is supportive, that's really helpful. And I think that's one of the main things Bob Devaney did. Bob gave you a job. He let you do it. He didn't interfere. And at least in my case, I found him to always be supportive. And I'm sure Trev will do those things, and it's going to be very important.
Coach, last question for you. He now has your job, but you're the one who's responsible for bringing him to Nebraska about 30 years ago now, or maybe even more. Do you remember recruiting Trev and what it took to get him away from Hayden Fry and Jim Waldron and all those guys over in Iowa?
Well, I don't remember exactly doing anything outlandish or special. I think probably Trev and his family just appreciated being straightforward to them, and we were going along pretty good. But that was in around '89 or so when we recruited him. And it wasn't like we were coming off a bunch of national championship years. We've been consistent. We've had a lot of good teams. And, of course, Iowa was doing fairly well at that time, and he lived right there in Cedar Falls. And so it was very close to Iowa City. And I just kind of assumed early on that probably he'd end up at Iowa, and I think he thought that way too. But things went well on his visit over here, and he decided to come here, and his family supported him too. And so I'm glad he came, because he really became a great player. John Melton was the assistant coach who recruited him. And of course, I was over there, I don't know, 2 or 3 times to see him, and but you just never know how recruiting's going to go. Sometimes the obvious choices that seem like they're a cinch to come to Nebraska don't. And then sometimes guys that you thought maybe would go somewhere else come your way. And so evidently we played the cards right. But of course, he was a guy that was, I think he looked beyond the wins and the losses and the tinfoil and the cheerleaders and that type of thing. He was looking at education. That was important to him. He was a very good student. I think he looked at values, and he's a high character guy. And I think a lot of the things that he saw here and his family saw here were attractive to him. But you probably have to ask him more than me as to exactly why he chose to come here.
Did you ever think when you got him signed up to come be a Husker that we'd be here today talking about him taking over as the leader of the athletics department?
No, not necessarily. You know, it's that's one thing about coaching your players when you first meet them and they go through that freshman year. Sometimes you just shake your head and you wonder if this guy will even get through his sophomore year, and they go on to become guys that are leading big businesses and doing great things. But I never doubted Trav, you know, in terms of, I never thought, well, he's going to be an academic risk because he was a great student. And I always knew that he certainly had great potential to accomplish great things. I just didn't know which direction he would go.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. That was great stuff, as always. I appreciate you calling in and taking some time with us. And also want to give a huge, huge thanks to Chris Anderson for helping us get Coach Osborne on. If he's the GOAT of coaching, she's the GOAT of sports information. Sorry, no offense, Bill, but you're behind Chris.
No, I work for Chris. I totally get it. She's got all the contacts, and she's working with Coach Osborne now in the teammates program. So people always need to be cognizant of getting involved with teammates, and Chris is doing a great job for Coach.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be working with her and teammates even more on the show moving forward. But, yeah, got to meet her last weekend, and she's fantastic, and so excited to get to continue to work with her. And so, again, thanks, Chris, for lining that up for us. It's always great to hear from Coach Osborne and his perspective, and great insight there on Trev Alberts. Okay, we got to step aside for another quick break here on Sports Nightly with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody.
Husker fans, looking for a seat in Memorial Stadium? Custom 3-game mini plans are available now for only $195. Choose any combination of the 6 games available. Matchups available in the 3-game plan include the home opener versus Fordham, Buffalo, Northwestern, Michigan, Purdue, and Iowa. Don't miss this opportunity to join the greatest fans in college sports and help fill Memorial Stadium. To build your mini plan, visit huskers.com/tickets or call 1-800-8-BIG-RED. Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
If there's one thing that you can count on every spring, it's that we're going to have to deal with some hail. J-Tech Construction is the company to call to make it right again. J-Tech Construction specializes in siding, roofing, windows, and gutters, even solar. They're trained for insurance claims assistance, and they can help with your insurance company. Turn to the team the Huskers turn to, J-Tech Construction. Use your favorite search engine to find J-Tech Construction online and schedule a free estimate today.
Stadium seats may have been replaced with recliners. Tailgates outside the stadium may have been swapped for the ones in the backyard, and thousands of screaming fans have been replaced by one screaming baby. The only thing that hasn't changed is us, watching the game together.
It's game time, baby.
Show off your Husker team spirit during your next virtual watch party. Visit Cox.com/Huskers to take a selfie with Herbie. And don't forget to share. Watch together, cheer together, take a selfie together, even if you're not actually together. Cox, bringing us closer.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm journalism student Grace Fitzgibbon with Campus News. On May 7th and 8th, Nebraska celebrated its largest May graduating class in university history. 3,594 degrees were awarded to Nebraska graduates in ceremonies at Pinnacle Bank Arena and Memorial Stadium. Along with receiving their diplomas, graduates also heard inspiring speeches from notable Nebraskans, including legendary coach Tom Osborne.
Still waiting for your stimulus check? Don't wait for the government. Get the SOS stimulus package right now. For a limited time, get $2,000 off a qualifying York system. York products are all proudly made in the USA. Call SOS, a trustworthy company since 1950. SOS is a family-owned third-generation company. Get you and the loved ones comfortable again with SOS.
SOS to the rescue. SOS. SOS.
So, when do you think you'll be done with our kitchen renovation?
Well, ma'am, the Italian marble countertops will take a while to get in.
No problem. In the meantime, you can start on the spiral staircase.
What?
If you win Mega Millions from the Nebraska Lottery with a jackpot that starts in the millions in drawings Tuesdays and Fridays, you can afford to go a little mega.
So you want us to build a spiral staircase?
Well, how else are we supposed to get up to the helipad? Oh, good. My husband's home.
Top prize odds 1 in 302 million.
And welcome back to Sports Nightly. Hope everyone is enjoying this Thursday evening with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. And just wrapped up a fantastic conversation with Coach Osborne, and obviously the big news of the day yesterday, Trev Albert's the new athletic director here at Nebraska. And now that it's kind of been 24 hours, it's kind of wild yesterday and a whirlwind of a day, but you slept on it, you got up today. What was kind of your takeaways, your reaction to how everything went down yesterday?
Well, the first thing when you said, I hope everybody's having a good Thursday, I'm thinking, you know, a lot of people got their life back here in Nebraska because they've been trying to figure out who the new athletic director of Nebraska is going to be, and going to Twitter and every other social media source for the past 2 weeks to figure out who's going to be the guy or the woman, perhaps. But I think, you know, as a Husker alum or Nebraska alum and somebody who worked here for a long time, and, you know, I've known Trev a long time too, and it was great to see him yesterday. He looked like the same guy that I knew 30 years ago when he played at Nebraska. I think it's a great hire. I thought it was a good hire when I first heard it, and the more I think about it, I think it's terrific. And, you know, when you look back at the body of work at Nebraska-Omaha, and to do that without having been an athletic director. Now, Trev's a polished guy. He's a lawyer and did a great job in the media, so he knows how to, you know, do a lot of things in that regard. But, man, to get that ship righted at UNO, because they were having financial issues, and to move them into Division I and implement a top-tier hockey program, there are so many good things that he did. And I am fully aware that there were controversies, and I think everybody has certainly made those feelings known over the last 24 hours and 12 years. But the decision was made. It wasn't his decision alone with football and wrestling. There's a lot of forethought that went into that, and he's the one, as the leader of the organization, that has to deliver the news and has to move forward. And he did it, and he did it very well for 12 years. UNO is on good ground right now. I've seen a lot of colleges in my career and done a lot of games at a lot of places, and UNO is in good shape because of Trev Alberts. And you look at their website yesterday. Thank you, Trev. They wished him well, and they were effusive in their praise of him for the job he did there, and wished him well coming to Nebraska. I think Nebraskans and Husker fans everywhere should be pretty happy and impressed.
I think one of the words that was used to describe his time there was transformative. And it was, you know, it's not easy to take a program from Division II to Division I. It is not an easy task to do that. The fundraising that he did there. And how smart was it to kind of build up that hockey program the way that it was? Because, you know, there's not one that competes with that here. Right. So, you know, and how well that did. And they went to the Frozen Four and all that. You know, so much praise coming out for him from that university. And just, you know, speaking with him the little time that I did yesterday, just about, it's not about him, it's about the team. And he's not going to try to do this on his own. And he knows that the staff that's in place that he's going to rely upon. And it's a team thing. And above everything else, which we heard Rick Allen talk about yesterday as well, it's about the student athlete. And he was a student athlete, knows what it's like to be a student athlete here, and is going to involve those student athletes in the decision making going forward. And knows the Nebraska way of helping student athletes to become successful, no matter if it's football or volleyball or rifle or tennis. And, you know, one of the things I read today, that, you know, there was a Nebraska football alumni reunion a couple of years back, and Trev couldn't make it because he had a commitment with the UNO women's tennis team. You know, that's not to diminish the UNO women's tennis team, but that shows you an idea that there's a priority, that I've got a job to do, and I need to honor my commitment to them. And that's really impressive. And anybody who knows Trev and knew Trev back then knew that he was destined for some really, really good things in life, family and faith and football and as an administrator. And I think about that UNO job again, how many people may not have even wanted to take that job 12 years ago, and how many people thought, wait a minute, you're going to go with UNO in the shadow of UNL. You're going to go from Division I to Division II, and you're going to try to find a conference. And they may have been in a couple of conferences. Nebraska's found out over a decade that it hasn't been an easy transition to go from the Big 12 to the Big 10. Now you're talking about 2, 1 AA, and to Division I, and get into the Summit League and create a hockey program, build an arena. I mean, there are a lot of things that Trev did, and you know, outside of that headline-making move 12 years ago, that are really, really impressive, that a lot of people who have been athletic directors would not have taken on. Yeah, and again, and mentioned this yesterday too, just the love and passion and that he has behind Nebraska. Not a lot of athletic directors have those kinds of ties to a program. When they take a job, it's a job, right, and a step up in a career. Yep. But the investment that he has and the ties that he has to Nebraska. It goes beyond it just being a job and a step up in a career. I mean, this means a great deal to him, and he knows the responsibility that he's taking on and wants to do a good job for this place.
Pretty sure the moving boxes will get thrown away. You know, how many people hold on to their moving boxes because they know there's another job coming? I'm guessing that they may throw those moving boxes away, and Ronnie Green and Ted Carter kind of alluded to that, Bob Devaney was here for 25 years, and, I can't imagine Trev 20 years from now is looking anywhere else than Nebraska and the successes that he's had here.
All right, another quick break here in hour number 1. You'll want to stay tuned. Coming up in hour number 2, we have Jordan Larson. Fantastic conversation with her, but we got to wrap up hour number 1 here next with our final segment with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts. Want to get all the latest Husker news straight to your phone? Need to be the first of your friends to get the scoop on all things Huskers? Sign up for text alerts from Nebraska Athletics. Text Huskers to 83200 to get game time notifications and updates, breaking news, special ticket offers, and more straight to your phone. All the Husker news is just a quick text away. Just text Huskers to 83200. Standard text messaging rates apply and may vary by carrier.
So, when do you think you'll be done with our kitchen renovation?
Well, ma'am, the Italian marble countertops will take a while to get in.
No problem. In the meantime, you can start on the spiral staircase.
What?
If you win Mega Millions from the Nebraska Lottery with a jackpot that starts in the millions in drawings Tuesdays and Fridays, you can afford to go a little mega.
So you want us to build a spiral staircase?
Well, how else are we supposed to get up to the helipad? Oh, good. My husband's home.
Top prize odds 1 in 302 million.
Final segment here of hour number 1 of Sports Nightly with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. Make sure you get those phone calls, texts into our Woodhouse Auto Family Hotline, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. And as always, that number is 402-413-2400. Did get a text from our friend Dennis, who said would have liked to see them play at 1:30 p.m. for the Sooners and the Huskers in football like the old days for this game. Too bad a station like ABC wouldn't have it on.
Or you could go to Maine and watch it in an Eastern time zone or something, and maybe in Nova Scotia. That game will be on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there you go. Life's good.
There you go. So we have Jordan Larson coming up, and I'm going to continue talking Olympics, but, man, it's getting here quickly. And I don't know, have you got to feel a sense for, as we get closer, about the take and the feel of these athletes with the COVID situation over there in Tokyo and no fans?
Yeah.
I mean, they still seem excited that they're going to get an opportunity to participate.
When I'm done here, I go home and study and look at all kinds of social media, and you see athletes from the sports that I'm going to be calling and others, and you see them posting pictures of their Instagrams and their Facebooks, if they still do that, sending out Twitter messages, and you can see that there is an excitement, whether they're on a charter flight over to Tokyo and they're being well taken care of, or they're on, just a regular domestic international flight. They're excited, and that's what I think is really important, that they're not going over, concern. I shouldn't say they're not concerned. Everybody's concerned, but it doesn't seem as though their enthusiasm is diminished. For many, this is the culmination of a lifelong dream, and they may have gotten to the Olympics by winning 3rd place in a trial by 1,000th of a second, and they are Olympians forever. And that's significant for them. Even Bradley Beal, who has been, knocked out of the Olympics for Team USA men's basketball, they're talking about how devastated he is. Here's a guy making, $10 million a year more, and this has been a lifelong dream. And you can tell that he's upset that he's not going to be able to go play. But I think the enthusiasm for the opportunity is still there.
Well, and you're talking about that a lot of times because you look at the players, some of the players that have opted out. A lot of players don't get the opportunity to play for Team USA, so kind of a different year. Not necessarily all of the big superstars in for Team USA men's basketball, so an opportunity. You grew up watching the Dream Team and hearing about competing for gold medals and the camaraderie that kind of happens with those guys. Saw a lot of it on the Michael Jordan documentary as well. Just this is an opportunity that you probably don't get every 4 years for a lot of these guys to get to play for Team USA.
You do get sometimes a feeling that, well, okay, they're doing it. Well, I'll go play for Team USA. We'll win it. But having been around the NBA a little bit, I do think that it is a big deal to have the opportunity to go play. And I think they need a break, going from the playoffs right where they are right now. And maybe it doesn't seem like there may be a lot of enthusiasm, maybe from those Team USA guys and the multimillionaires. But once it comes time to play,
they'll get ramped up.
Yep,
yeah,
I
mean. Those guys are competitors, and they're tired right now. But when they get there, they're going to be ready to go.
Your buddy Trae Young is, apparently ready to answer the phone.
I know he put out a tweet about that. He kind of a subtweet, I guess. Isaiah Thomas talking about that he was qualified and didn't get the call, and I guess Trae Young maybe put a message out there that he'd like that call.
Yeah. That'd be great to see him play.
Hey, I'm just glad that the NBA finals have evened things up as well. We can maybe get some fun games ahead.
Isn't it amazing that after game 1 and 2, they're talking about how great Chris Paul is?
It's going to be a Sun sweep.
Yeah, unbelievable. And now it's like, what's wrong with Chris Paul, and what are the Suns going to do, and how can he come back? I'm like, man, the news cycle certainly changes quickly.
All right, still a lot to get to here on Sports Nightly, including a conversation with Husker great Jordan Larson. With Bill Dolman, I'm Jessica Coody. This is Sports Nightly, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Transportation. Buckle up and put the phone down. A reminder from the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts. Husker fans, stay up to date with the most current and latest news by following the Big Red on Facebook and Twitter. These social media homes provide the fastest daily updates on everything surrounding NU athletics, including game results, ticket promotions, and Husker prizes. Log on to also follow several sports-specific pages and Husker head coaches. Become a fan today at facebook.com/Huskers and twitter.com/Huskers to join and interact with thousands of Husker fans around the world.
Stadium seats may have been replaced with recliners. Tailgates outside the stadium may have been swapped for the ones in the backyard, and thousands of screaming fans have been replaced by one screaming baby. The only thing that hasn't changed is us, watching the game together.
It's game time, baby.
Show off your Husker team spirit during your next virtual watch party. Visit Cox.com/Huskers to take a selfie with Herbie. And don't forget to share. Watch together, cheer together, take a selfie together, even if you're not actually together. Cox, bringing us closer.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm journalism student Grace Fitzgibbon with Campus News. Nebraska is one of the best schools in America for student Fulbright scholars. 2021 marks the 4th time that the university has been named a top producing institution by the Fulbright program. Of the 30 Huskers who applied this past year, 10 were offered the prestigious Fulbright. An additional 16 Huskers were named semifinalists.
Because Ford trucks and SUVs are built to help you every day, you made Ford America's best-selling brand. And now you can get great offers on the entire Ford lineup. Come see how at your local Ford store, based on 2019 calendar year total sales. There's a Ford built for everyone, whether it's the latest driver assist technologies, room to fit the whole family, or the power you need on the job site. Ford has you covered. Head to your Midwest Ford dealers today to find great deals on the right vehicle for you.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly, hour number 2. I'm Bill Dolman with Jessica Coody. It is July 15th, and here are some of today's sports headlines that we've been keeping tabs on. And we begin once again from the Only in Nebraska file. Tickets for the Husker volleyball team's red-white scrimmage, which will be held August 21st. Those tickets went on sale this morning at 10 a.m. After about 5 hours, 5,500 of the 8,000 available tickets have been sold. 5,500 tickets for a game that doesn't count, unless you have a strong affinity for scarlet or cream. The game again set for August 21st at 6 p.m. Tickets are $10. Go to huskers.com tickets or call 1-800-8-BIG-RED. Bad news from Amsterdam at the U20 World Volleyball Championships. The United States and its trio of Huskers dropped a 5-set match to the host Netherlands in their final game in second-round pool play. The U.S. rallied from 2 down to tie, but lost 15-10 in the 5th set. Lindsey Krause had 8 kills. Allie Batenhorst was held to just 5 kills. Now, we did have somebody text in from the 509 who said that he watched, or she watched, and did not see Allie Batenhorst play the last 3 sets, so that's probably why she only had 5 kills. Lexi Rodriguez had a team-high 10 digs, and perhaps the 509 counted those. The matchups for Saturday have not yet been set. The NBA Finals continued last night with Milwaukee protecting home court and evening the best of 7 series at 2 games apiece. Game 5 will be Saturday in Phoenix. Team USA men's basketball team has lost Bradley Beal to COVID. He will not play in the Olympics, and Jermani Grant has entered protocol status. They are looking for replacements, at least for Beal, perhaps for Grant. And this is somewhat stunning, if you ask me. In an interview with Pool Reporters today, NCAA President Mark Emmert said the time is right to consider a decentralized and deregulated version of collegiate sports, shifting power to conferences and campuses and recognizing how schools are aligned. Much more on that, perhaps, as the show continues, but those are some of the headlines.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time.
Little chopper, right back to Schwellenbach, throws to first, in time. Huskers make it 9 in a row as they take game 1. A terrific pitching performance on both sides for Nebraska. Povich, Buns, Schwellenbach combine on the shutout. Povich gets the win. Schwellenbach his 8th save, and Nebraska takes game 1 of this series, a final of 1-0.
Povich was as good as I've ever seen him today. The fastball had life to it. The changeup had a lot of late life to it as well. Looking the same out of the hand. He threw the curveball, the slider, and the cutter. I mean, he threw 5 different pitches today, all for strikes. Very competitive. Looked like an ace, and we needed every bit of it today.
Sports Nightly is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office, who reminds you to buckle up and put the phone down. Here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Bill Dolman, on the Huskers Radio Network.
And welcome into hour number 2 here on this Thursday edition of Sports Nightly with Bill Dolman. I am Jessica Coody, and got a fun conversation coming up here in about 15 minutes with Jordan Larson, Husker great, preparing for another Olympics, 3rd Olympics with Team USA Volleyball. So fascinating conversation. You won't want to miss that. But right off the bat here, we've got a caller in on our Woodhouse Auto Family Hotline, Chad in David City. Thanks for the call, Chad.
Yes, hi. This question is for Jennifer. Can you tell me how many wins do you think Nebraska Husker football will have this year?
Well, it's Jessica. Thanks for calling. Yeah, we've talked a little bit about that on the show. I think anywhere from 7 to 8 is doable, right, Bill? We've
I said
discussed that a little
13,
bit.
but if
Yeah.
you want to limit to 7 to 8, I guess that's okay. You know, I'm endearing myself, but
You know, I think the at Illinois off the bat in the season opener is winnable. Fordham, Buffalo, Oklahoma. You know, I think the reports have been out. We know that they're going to be one of the top teams in the country going into the season. Michigan State, Northwestern Michigan. Yeah, I mean, I think 7-8 is definitely doable.
I think the Michigan State game is a critical game.
Yep.
Because if Nebraska defeats Oklahoma, win, Is there a drop off? Is there a letdown? Because that happens. You always have that big game, and if you come off it, and 1992, smoking Colorado on Halloween, and then going to Ames and watching Marv Seiler run crazy against Trev Alberts, you have that letdown. And if Nebraska beats Oklahoma, you got to have the focus sharp for that Michigan State game on the road in East Lansing. If things don't go well in Norman, you got to bounce back and play well in East Lansing. So that, to me, is a big game for the Huskers this year.
I do think even if, you go play well at Oklahoma, and put up a good fight, you could take a lot of confidence from that one moving forward as well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But, yeah, I mean, Northwestern and then, the Iowa game is going to be big at the end of the season as well.
And thankfully on Black Friday, that'll be big. And that game will be in Lincoln. And that game will have a crowd that I believe will be fairly excited. And let's hope it's not at 11 a.m.
Again, my first season really diving into Nebraska football, but I've done quite a few interviews with football players at the intro or in the photo shoot, the media day, internal media day on Monday, or Tuesday, sorry. It was supposed to go Wednesday, but then we kind of had some big news yesterday.
I heard that.
I've done some interviews, and it just seems like, an older team, a lot of experience coming back, and kind of and you can talk about it, you can say all the right things, you got to go do it out on the field, but in college athletics, having that experience usually bodes well for a team, and they seem to be pretty driven and motivated, and that was a mission, and why a lot of these guys came back, opted in for another year, took advantage of that COVID year, didn't maybe pursue going to the NFL because they want to come back and change the ship and the direction of the ship and right the ship, I guess. What is that saying?
Sure, right the ship.
But anyways, leave
go the other way.
Leave a foundation here for to continue to build Nebraska football back up to what they all believe that it can be. And with that much experience and so much returning, and them all kind of be on the same page, and just the messaging that you hear, they're convicted about it. They're not just saying it. They believe in it, and so. And again, you still got to go through fall camp, and you got to, do it out on the field and take it one game at a time, all that coach speak and whatnot. But, it does seem to be the messaging is there, and it's not just, hey, we're just saying this to say the right things. You know what I mean?
I'm thinking back, and I mentioned Adrian Fiala the other day, my friend, everybody's friend from Omaha, who was a former Nebraska radio analyst. And Adrian was a part of the teams back in the 1960s playing for Bob Devaney. And Adrian was never part of a team that won a national championship at Nebraska, but he wore his Sun Bowl watch and ring, I think maybe, with pride, because he felt like he was a part of those teams that set the stage for the 70, 71 national championships. And he loved being a Husker, and he loved the fact that he played in that game. I'm sure he longed that I was so close. I could have been a contender, could have been a champion. But I think that there are probably some guys on this team right now that recognize, you know what? We have the opportunity to be that team that puts the foundation in place for what we believe, what we have always hoped that this program will be with Scott and company. I came back for the spring game, and I've watched a lot of games on TV over the last couple of years, given the fact that I don't live in Lincoln right now. And I thought the team in the spring looked, finally, after a few years, looked like a Big Ten, or even, our teams in the 90s where they were just big.
Yeah.
And you've been around them. They look like they fit the right suit now.
Yeah.
That's important.
The running backs were part of the group that came in on that day that I was there, and they are massive. Those running backs are huge. So, and another kind of similar message that you're hearing that I've heard from coaches and players is the depth that they've been able to build at several positions, key positions. That what does depth do? It builds competition. And what does competition do? It makes you at your best. When you're having to be at your best at practice every day, that's what makes you the best on Saturdays. And so, building that key depth, especially on the lines, which is both offensive and defensive lines seem to, say that this has been the best depth that they've had in quite some time here. That's huge for a football team, you know? I mean, you have to have that depth there.
Adrian Martinez is only going to be as good as the guys up front. And holding on to the ball is important, obviously. But how many times over the last few years have we seen Nebraska have injuries along the offensive line, and they talk about, well, we had to move so-and-so from guard to tackle or guard to center, or we're going to play a freshman, a true freshman, in Game 7 of the season. And it's always seemed like it's been moving pieces and taking a shot. When you can get some depth along the line and you've got an injury or somebody may not be playing all that well, there's somebody hungry behind him to take the job, that's when you've got a healthy football team. And that, I think, is probably, we love our pipeline. We haven't had a pipeline in a long time. But I think that they finally can say, okay, we got a starter at left, we got a backup at left. We've got a starter at right, we got backup. And there's not going to be the moving pieces and experimentation.
And the chemistry, because they've got guys that have played together. They were really young last year, but got guys coming back. But they've been spending a lot of time together outside of, working out. And, when they were going through spring ball, they've been going fishing and hanging out outside of it. And I had a long conversation with Greg Austin, and he was saying that, going to the training table, he's seeing guys that are not on their phones. They're engaging, talking with one another. Just the chemistry that they've been able to build off the field, that plays into what you do as a line on the field. And, on the other side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, Tony Tuioti talking about that he sees it as a hockey line change where he should be able to run 3 in, run the next 3 in, and keep them fresh, and you don't, drop off when we got that next group in, and he feels like he's got that. And again, you talk about the difference in winning some games at the end of football games and close games. A lot of times it comes to that depth on the line.
So you're saying a lot of parents are going to call Greg Austin to figure out how they can get their kids off their phones. So that's one thing that we've learned tonight. But, yeah, I think that is important. So good on you, Zach Duvall and company. This is the most important time, well, I guess January to now. That's the most important time for building your football team. And, I think a lot of people have probably seen that, the video of Coach Osborne talking to the players. I'm not sure when that was, but talking about, your destination for 6 wins or 12 wins is going to be determined by what you do in August and what you have done leading up to August. And I'm sure a lot of guys don't really think about that, but boy, January and February workouts, so critical. And like I said, I thought they looked big in the spring.
Yeah. They said during that talk, by the way, when Coach Osborne was talking, guys were just locked in, captivated the entire time. Like, you can cut up a video and show clips of guys watching, but for an entire talk, that guys were just locked in, captivated by his, which easy to do when we just had, a phone conversation with him, just hearing his stories and knowing, everything that he's done. You want to pay attention to that. And I think that speaks a lot, because kids these days a lot of times don't know about history and tradition. Yeah. But the fact that these Husker players understand what Tom Osborne has done, and even if it was way before their time, even before they were born, the fact that they understand, hey, we should listen to this guy.
Which is, and let's tie that in with Trev Alberts. I think one of my favorite pictures and one of the classic pictures of Nebraska football is that picture from the Orange Bowl when Trev's walking off the field and he's pointing to the fans and he's got his arm wrapped and he's just, got all the Orange Bowl turf and dirt all over him. And that is a great picture, and it's an epitome of Husker football. And so now you tell those guys, look, that's our athletic director, Yeah. And that's the guy that he played for. And there was a certain character about all that. That's why that guy has his elbow is wrapped. So many guys opt out of those bowl games now because they don't want to get hurt. Or as we saw during college basketball, a guy's opting out of the second half of a basketball season because I might get hurt. Trev played with a bad elbow that affected his professional career. And that picture is iconic and great to see.
All right, fun conversations. Get me juiced up. We're getting so close now. 2 weeks from tomorrow is the start of fall practice. Okay, we have got to take a quick break, but up next, Husker legend Jordan Larson joining us here on Sports Nightly with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
So, when do you think you'll be done with our kitchen renovation?
Well, ma'am, the Italian marble countertops will take a while to get in.
No problem. In the meantime, you can start on the spiral staircase.
What?
If you win Mega Millions from the Nebraska Lottery with a jackpot that starts in the millions in drawings Tuesdays and Fridays, you can afford to go a little mega.
So you want us to build a spiral staircase?
Well, how else are we supposed to get up to the helipad? Oh, good. My husband's home.
Top prize odds 1 in 302 million.
Still waiting for your stimulus check? Don't wait for the government. Get the SOS stimulus package right now. For a limited time, get $2,000 off a qualifying York system. York products are all proudly made in the USA. Call SOS, a trustworthy company since 1950. SOS is a family-owned third-generation company. Get you and the loved ones comfortable again with SOS.
SOS to the rescue. SOS. SOS.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm journalism student Grace Fitzgibbon with Campus News. A new grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture is supporting Husker research in the study of multi-robot systems in ag settings. The almost $500,000 grant was awarded through the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture to Professor Santosh Pitla. Pitla and his team will use the funds to further their research in the use of unmanned ground vehicles and drones on the farm.
If there's one thing that you can count on every spring, it's that we're going to have to deal with some hail. J-Tech Construction is the company to call to make it right again. J-Tech Construction specializes in siding, roofing, windows, and gutters, even solar. They're trained for insurance claims assistance, and they can help with your insurance company. Turn to the team the Huskers turn to, J-Tech Construction. Use your favorite search engine to find J-Tech Construction online and schedule a free estimate today.
Did you ever buy something and get more than you expected? Emeritus offers insurance, employee benefits, and financial services, but we deliver so much more. The comfort of a human voice when you need it, the confidence of flashing a beautiful smile, the relief that your family can keep living the life they love, the serenity of knowing you've planned well and can enjoy life. That's what we really deliver. We call it fulfilling life. Emeritus, insurance, employee benefits, financial services, and much more.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Hey, the Tokyo Olympics coming up next week. We are less than a week out from the opening ceremony, which is probably going to look a little bit different. Bill Dolman, I'm Jessica Coody. He'll be calling some Olympics, but still great to have it, be able to talk about it, and lots of Nebraska representation this year as well.
Especially when it comes to the sport of volleyball.
Yep.
3 Huskers on the 12-person squad.
And Jordan Larson set to make her third appearance in the Olympic Games, and she was kind enough to spend some time with us yesterday morning here on Sports Nightly. Well, Jordan, we appreciate you joining us. How does it feel this year going into the Olympics after missing it last year and getting it back and making another team and getting to go back this year?
Yeah, it's amazing. Definitely a mixture of emotions, you know. I think when your mind is kind of was set on last year, right, you kind of already had this natural, like, ramp up, you know, in your mind. And when it didn't happen, it was like you're trying to, you know, what am I doing? What's going on? What's the team doing? How are we going to respond? And are we actually going to have another Olympics? Do I keep going? You know, there was a lot of question marks. And I think that, you know, I'm just really proud of our team. I think we put in a lot of time over Zoom, as I'm assuming a lot of people did. And I feel really good about our team culture, how we're functioning, and I'm just really excited for that.
Jordan, there are a lot of athletes that have said, you know, not competing last year in Tokyo was detrimental. There are some that have said, you know what, giving me an extra a year has helped me prepare better, and now they believe they can compete for medals. Your team is going into Tokyo as the #1 ranked team in the world and a favorite for a gold medal. So as tough as it was to not play last year, has that time helped you mature and come together to where the gold medal is definitely within reach?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Gosh, even as you just talk about it, it gives me chills. I think if you would have asked me last year, like, hey, the team ready. And, you know, I think I probably would have given you a PR answer, but to be honest, I don't think we were. I think our culture was all over the place. I think we were trying to manage a lot of things, and, you know, we, again, spent a lot of time on Zoom and really tried to, I don't know, we're working with a new consultant. Her name is Sue Enquist. She's a former softball coach and has really helped us. We talk about, like, dropping the rope. So, you know, of course on a team, right, like you have interpersonal issues or, you know, staff relation issues, you know, and so we just really try to focus on kind of dealing with a lot of that stuff that we could, right, like interpersonally without being together, dropping the rope and just, like, let's all be and, like, try and work for this common goal, you know, and not that it wasn't always that way, because I do believe there was that bigger plan in place, but I think there was a lot of underlying things that we needed to deal with before we got back in the gym together. And now that we're back in the gym, it's like I feel like we didn't skip a beat. You know, we didn't see each other for almost 2 years, and here we are showing up and, like, getting after it, and still, like, coming out with a BNL win. Like, that's huge. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for this team.
So you have experience and know what it takes to, you know, make a run in the Olympics. What is it going to take for this team specifically to potentially go compete for a gold medal?
Yeah, I think the word that comes to my mind is just patience. I think where I think we could get a little ahead of ourselves is we let the game play us versus, like, hey, no, like, let's try to slow it down. Let's take 1 point at a time. And I know that sounds so, elementary, I guess, but in reality, like, sometimes when you're in a big situation, all of a sudden you can't slow down time. It's like you're, you know, going 1,000 miles an hour, and in reality, it's just the ability to slow down and play each play and stay true to that. And to be honest, I think we're doing great in practice with that. You know, if there's a situation where, you know, a team just goes on a run, like, how can we slow it down on our side and kind of really be patient on that. So I think that's the word that I think is going to help us.
How do you impart your Olympic experience? This is going to be your third games to those who are making their Olympic debut. And as I look at the roster, it looks like there's 4 that do have Olympic experience, including Kelsey Robinson, but you have so many who will be going at this for the very first time. So how do you slow things down? How do you impart patience to those athletes that are going to be pretty excited and taking on, you know, teams that are going for the gold medal as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I think it's just a lot, right? A lot of it now, right? And trusting in that what we have done now is prepared us for every situation that we're going to encounter. And to be honest, the Olympic Games is really no different than any other tournament we do, right? Like, we are playing the same teams, the court size is the same, the ball is the same, right? Like, it's a bigger thing in our mind. We're making it bigger than in reality it is. And don't get me wrong, it is the Olympic Games. It's a big thing. But when it comes down to the X's and O's, it's the same. And so I think if we're constantly narrating that now, when it gets to the heat of the moment and, you know, we can look each other in the eyes and know that, like, hey, we've done this. We know we've been here. We know exactly what to do. And, you know, I think it's just that look in the eyes and, like, hey, here we are and let's go, you know, kind of thing. And but again, I think how you talk in the moment, right? Like, if your voice is frantic, then the team is frantic, you know? So it's kind of like, how can we slow this play down and really slow it down with our communication? So I think that's kind of what I'll try to go to, and I think a lot of my teammates will go to as well. Like you said, experience. We do have some experience on the team, so it's good.
You've played a lot of volleyball, racked up a lot of accolades. You got a bronze and a silver medal. What would a gold medal mean to you? Have you dreamed about it?
Yeah. I was like, third time's a charm, right? And I got to complete the series. So, I mean, ultimately, I think the more I've played, right, like, of course, like, accolades and everything, like, are, you know, a representation of kind of how the team performs and things like that. And I think for me, even the biggest lesson I learned at Nebraska was, you know, if the team can maximize its potential and you felt like you've done everything that you could in your power, and you don't walk away with a medal, like that's all we're aiming for, right? And I think that's what I want for this team, is just to full out, max out, like to our fullest potential. I think if we didn't do that, I think that would be the biggest disappointment, even if it didn't end up being a medal. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's where my mind goes. Of course, a gold medal would be amazing, but I think that's where my heart lies, is maximizing the potential.
Okay, I know you're in the moment and you're thinking about the gold medal and the steps it's going to take to get there. But in looking back, I read an article that you said trying to make the U.S. under-18 team back in 2003, you were so nervous because you so desperately wanted to wear the Team USA uniform. Jordan, in a few weeks, you are going to retire from Team USA. You will have worn that uniform for more than half of your life. Have you thought about that moment?
Yeah, I have, and I'm trying. Like, the thought keeps coming, right? Like, as an athlete, you have all these thoughts in your mind, right? Like about playing, about visualizing, and the thought kept coming, and I'm like, all right, Jordan, like you gotta confront it, right? Like it's there. So if you don't acknowledge it, then like you're not doing it justice. And so I definitely have thought about it, and like you said, I still feel like that 18-year-old girl. Like, this is my first time, and like I don't know where the years went, to be honest. It's been just such a joy and an honor every time, and just I don't know. I feel like I've tried to never take it for granted, and I don't know. It's gonna be an honor, and I'm gonna walk out with my head held high and like just proud of the teams that I've been on, and the fact that I've been able to represent the United States for so long. And I think just ultimately just super proud.
Well, you're not the only Husker representing Team USA. You got two fellow teammates, and then also, I don't know if you've been following the under-20 team, 3 freshmen of the #1 recruiting class in the nation that Coach Cook called the Dream Team that have been dominating on the under-20 Team USA team. What does that say about Nebraska volleyball, that there's no other college that has that kind of representation?
Yeah, like you said, it really like just shows like what Nebraska volleyball is all about, and what it means to be there, right? Like I came into Nebraska wanting to play at the next level. I didn't know what that looked like, but I think John and his staff and knew what it took, right? And it puts you in position to perform at the highest level. And obviously, Nebraska and the crowd as an athlete, like it sets you up for success, because the eyes are on you, and when it gets hot, there's a lot of people watching. So it's kind of like it really sets the stage for success down the road. And I have been following the U20, and so cool. And I'm just really stoked for this coming year for Nebraska volleyball, and just the legacy that John has created, to be honest. I mean, he's done a great job.
How global is the Nebraska brand? Obviously, it's a big deal here, but outside the borders of Nebraska, how many people recognize Nebraska volleyball when you go across the globe?
Yeah, for sure. A lot more than I ever thought. I joke about like my nickname because my teammate called me like the governor, but it all started because we were in Thailand, and at the end line, I see this bright red shirt with a Husker, Huskers all over it. And I'm like, what is going on? We're in Bangkok, like of all places, and there's a Husker fan here, and, like knew my dad, like it was just like such a small world, but like not just there, everywhere, like my team in Turkey, like the GM knew exactly, like comes to the Final Four, like watches, and so like, I think it's very well known, and like, people are getting great contracts right out of college because the stage is set, and it's a good place to play.
You're a small-town Nebraska kid, goes and plays at the University of Nebraska. For those little girls that might be listening, thinking, I don't go to a big enough school, or I don't have enough exposure, what would be your message to them as now you've kind of become one of the most decorated volleyball players in Team USA history and Nebraska history?
Yeah, I think I would tell them I had all those fears as well. You know, I thought about transferring my, I think it was my junior year, and ultimately at that point I think it was my sophomore year because I hadn't committed yet, and I all those things were questioning in my mind too. I was like, what am I going to do? I want to get seen. I want to get a college, scholarship, but ultimately, like, I decided to play club, and that right now, club volleyball is all over the United States, and there's so many opportunities. And if you can get to a club team that is like with a good coach and you're able to travel to even local tournaments, the scouts watch. They are out there. The coaches watch, trust in that. And also, I think for me, like the mental balance of playing other sports and being from a small town and being able to do other things allowed me to kind of step away from volleyball just for a little bit, right? Because I always loved it, but it allowed me to always come back refreshed and playing at a much higher level than I may have if I would have just kept playing. And where I think at a bigger school, you only have the opportunity to really play that sport because the off season is with that team and all those things. So I don't know. I'm really grateful for my experience at Logan View, but I did have all those fears. But I ultimately think I made the right decision of staying. And obviously my dad was at school, so I think it meant a lot for me to stay as well. So, I think trust in the process and know that you're doing the right thing.
Terry Pettit has always preached from the day one of building this Nebraska program to have those athletes that do play other sports. I think he just tweeted about it the other day. He's still talking about the importance of the track athlete and the basketball athlete as well as playing volleyball. I can remember, and I'm pretty sure it was Terry when he said, there's this 7th or 8th grade girl at Logan View that's going to be pretty good someday. I'm thinking, who's that? But he talked about how great of an athlete you were, and that's obviously paid off greatly for you. What are some of your great experiences when you hang this up? What will be your great experiences from that 8th grade girl to where you are now?
Yeah. Oh, man. There's a lot to count. I think ultimately it's perspective and just gratitude for the country that we live in. I've been able, like you said, travel a lot. I've seen a lot of places where, they don't have what we have. And every time I come back and I'm away for 7 months and I come back to the United States, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the greatest place ever. And of course, there's been a lot of issues over the years, these last couple of years, and just a lot of things going on. But ultimately, we live in one of the greatest places. And also translating from that to volleyball, the national team, how we execute and what we think about and how we operate at such a high level, not a lot of teams do that, and so fortunate. And, I think just my time in Nebraska, just so grateful for all those memories. And, just too many to count, but ultimately just perspective and gratefulness and gratitude and, unbelievable.
Last thing I got for you, and you hit on that a little bit, the Nebraska fan base here, they love you. They have followed you, and they have stuck with you throughout, even once you're no longer playing here. And the way that they still continue to support this women's team, you just don't see that kind of support for women's sports everywhere. Just how special has that meant to you to have that kind of support from the Nebraska faithful for so many years?
Oh, I can't even put it into words. It's really so amazing, and I know that every time I come back, even for a match, just so great to see the excitement around volleyball and just stoked, to watch a game. And I literally cannot put it into words, but I know, maybe girls that haven't gone to Nebraska, it's unfortunate for them because I'm just man, it's so great to be able to come and to be from that, and so thankful for that.
So do you want to announce your candidacy for governor now, or do you want to wait a little while after the Olympics? Because I'm pretty sure you'd do well.
I'm gonna hold off for now,
okay.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll be waiting on that, Governor Larson.
All right. I appreciate that.
Jordan, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck. Can't wait to watch you and your fellow Huskers in the Olympics this summer.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
She was absolutely fantastic, and she denied the governor race, but we heard Coach Cook talking last night that she's potentially talking about maybe one day coaching.
She'd be a great coach. She would certainly be a great mentor to so many people, a great advisor for Team USA going forward. 3 Olympic opportunities, and with the Olympics in Paris and LA and everything coming up. What a great ambassador for her sport. What a great ambassador for her program and for the entire state. So you've got Trev Alberts in the AD chair, you've got Jordan Larson in the governor chair. Things are going pretty well, I think.
And potentially the messaging about not getting too caught up and winning a gold, right? She has a silver, she has a bronze, and wanting to leave it all out there on the court and knowing that she doesn't want to look back on regrets, but very good chance that this is a team that could win a gold medal in this year's Olympics.
It is the #1 team after last year's FIVB season. 16-1, I think, is what their record was. And she's got, a couple of other Husker teammates that are with her in the Olympics, and Kelsey Robinson is making her second appearance in the Olympics. So there is some experience. There is youth. I mean, Jordan is 34, 35 now, and maybe that youth will serve them quite well. I thought it was interesting that she said her team is one that may have benefited from the extra year of because of the postponement, and we'll see if that plays out. And maybe they had a chance to adjust their minds to get set and take on that experience of being an Olympian mentally.
All right, got to step aside for a quick break here on
Where's she
Sports
from?
Nightly. Hupper. I got it now. Coach Cook, I hope you're listening. I hope you heard that. All right, but again, quick break here from us here on Sports Nightly. And as always, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Transportation. Buckle up and put the phone down. A reminder from the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm journalism student Grace Fitzgibbon with Campus News. With a combination of strong academics and affordability, UNL offers an excellent educational value. This year, the university was named one of the Princeton Review's best value colleges. And the new Nebraska Promise and Career Scholarship programs are connecting more hardworking Huskers with financial help so they can pursue their dreams.
Stadium seats may have been replaced with recliners. Tailgates outside the stadium may have been swapped for the ones in the backyard, and thousands of screaming fans have been replaced by one screaming baby. The only thing that hasn't changed is us, watching the game together.
It's game time, baby.
Show off your Husker team spirit during your next virtual watch party. Visit Cox.com/Huskers to take a selfie with Herbie. And don't forget to share. Watch together, cheer together, take a selfie together, even if you're not actually together. Cox, bringing us closer.
As the official bank of Husker Nation, FNBO invites you to take the game with you with the free Husker Visa debit card. Tied to your checking account, the Husker Visa debit card allows fans to show their Husker pride all year long. Get your free Husker Visa debit card today at any FNBO branch or visit fnbo.com/Huskers. FNBO, the official bank of Husker Nation. Member FDIC.
Because Ford trucks and SUVs are built to help you every day, you made Ford America's best-selling brand. And now you can get great offers on the entire Ford lineup. Come see how at your local Ford store, based on 2019 calendar year total sales. There's a Ford built for everyone, whether it's the latest driver assist technologies, room to fit the whole family, or the power you need on the job site. Ford has you covered. Head to your Midwest Ford dealers today to find great deals on the right vehicle for you.
There is no better way to support your Huskers than becoming a season ticket holder. And a limited number of Nebraska football season tickets are on sale now. Secure your seat in Memorial Stadium for head coach Scott Frost's fourth season at the helm as the Huskers play host to Buffalo, Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, and more. Now is your chance to become part of the storied tradition that is Husker football. To purchase season tickets, call 1-800-8-BIG-RED.
Shop Woodhouse Chevy Buick in Missouri Valley, Iowa, and experience the Woodhouse difference, where our sales staff is here, ready to help you find your perfect new car, truck, or SUV. And with over 100 new vehicles on our lot with more arriving daily, we're sure to have something for you. From the Buick Encore to our heavy-duty trucks, we have the best selection available. Find new roads and shop all of our inventory and offers at WoodhouseChevy.com or visit us at our dealership for a test drive today, making car buying easier. This is Woodhouse.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. You mentioned in your news off the top of the hour that NCAA President Mark Emmert said that this might be a time to consider making some changes to the structure of the NCAA and how it's governed, and pretty shocking.
I read that like 5 times to make sure that I was actually reading what I read. And it seems as I would think that that is not a pebble in a pond, but somebody throwing a boulder in a fishing hole. That's going to it should have lasting repercussions, and people going, wait?
Well, especially because he's never had that stance before. It's like all of a sudden kind of took a turn on his messaging of what he's said about the NCAA.
To me, he's essentially saying that his organization
needs some changes, which it does.
Or needs to go.
Yeah.
It says NCAA President Mark Emmert with a small pool of reporters said the time is right to consider decentralizing and deregulating versions of college sports, shifting power to conferences and to campuses, reconsidering how schools are aligned. That goes back to like the 1980s with that Oklahoma-Georgia lawsuit with television rights and whatnot. If he's saying the NCAA, being a centralized power, needs to be decentralized, now you're going to be looking at schools going, how are we going to position ourselves to best, monetize our rights and scholarships and paying athletes and all these things. I mean, that to me is a monumental statement right now.
Well, and he also talked about potentially having sports govern themselves, kind of like, I guess, what college football does right now. But that's also an issue because then Title IX factors into that, and how do you keep things equal between men's and women's sports and athletes and whatnot. So, I mean, there definitely does need to be some kinds of changes, but I don't know if it's just a free-for-all like that, like what he was suggesting.
But how about the guy in charge of the organization saying, maybe our time has passed?
Yeah.
That's kind of what he is saying, is that college sports, how would you organize them in 2020 as opposed to 1920? And maybe the NCAA needs to take a long look at itself in terms of what it's going to go do. And maybe what it's just saying, we cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. We can't corral the cats. And we just got to do what we can do to help out those institutions who still need us. And I've said for 20 years, I think we're heading to a 64-team major conference with college footballs, like we have the Power Five and the Group of Five. That, you'll still have games, between the two, but you're going to have 64 or so schools that are just going to run themselves.
I think, too, part of the problem is they kind of, again, with all the name, image, and likeness stuff, we knew it was coming, it's being talked about, and Garrett Classy talked about when he had him on the podcast, when Nebraska first kind of started going through the steps to implement the legislation here within the state, that they were for an overall blanket kind of legislation that, for a fair playing field for all teams within the NCAA. And when that didn't happen, Nebraska had to move forward with making sure that they are taking care of their student athletes and the Husker student athletes. But, again, just they kind of waited on Congress, and then it was kind of behind the 8 ball. And then so again, I feel like they kind of put themselves in this position a little bit, kind of not preparing for some of these things that have been coming in being in the works. So But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this conversation continues to go.
Well, you've seen the NCAA rule book. I mean, imagine if you went through and just redacted or line item vetoed some of the things on there. And, you know, we've talked about this in the last couple of weeks about you can have bagels, but you can't have butter or cream cheese because that would be an extra benefit.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that if you let the Power Five or anybody with common sense, you'd strike that from the record and just go through and say, this just does not apply. This doesn't make sense. We can't do this anymore.
I do know there's a rule that it was like if it required utensils, then it was a meal, and if it didn't, if you could eat it without utensils, then it was a snack.
Gone, you know, and maybe the NCAA and this isn't going to happen tomorrow.
No,
but maybe the NCAA starts to look at and go, okay, let's have governance over Division IIIs and Division IIs and give guidance and resources in the best way that we possibly can. Maybe the FCS and we'll govern that, but it's pretty tough when the commissioners of the Power Five and major institutions, you know, walk into the room saying, this is the way we're going to do it, then they're going to go ahead and they're going to do it. And if TV says, this is the way you're going to do it, and you're going to kick off at 11 a.m., then that's the way it's going to be done. But those Power Fives, or those with the power, are going to have to figure out, okay, how can we work collectively without, and making sure that we are looking out for the collective good and not just Ohio State and Notre Dame and Nebraska and Oklahoma and all that, okay, we're the 64 or whatever, we've got to work together.
Yeah, they have to, or else, because that's what makes, you know, college sports what it is. It would not be as fun to watch if it was just, okay, we're just going to, you know, the Big 12 is going to do their own thing and the Big 10 is going to do their own thing. Like, you know, what makes it interesting is that even though they're competing within their conferences, they're competing against each other to kind of be those Final Four and to set themselves up to be in a playoff or depending what bowls, you know, back in the bowl game days and getting to those elite BCS games. And so even though it's, you know, you have to figure out a way for it to be a collective effort somehow.
Yeah.
You gonna take on that job?
Sure. I'll put my application in. But I will say this in regards to Trev Alberts, and I think that you are going to start to see a new generation of athletic directors who may be a little bit more contemporary. I know Trev's 50, but let's face it, he looks a lot younger than that, and he's been around the collegiate game. But I think you're going to see a generation of athletic directors who are closer to the student athlete and what they need to succeed. You're going to see people like the new commissioner in the Pac-12 who's coming from the entertainment and marketing and management side and not coming from a conference. I think you're going to start to see a lot more people like that in the boardrooms of collegiate athletics than some of the old guard that's getting long in the tooth.
It's going to be interesting.
Let's solve it tonight.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But we only have 9 minutes left in the show, so we have to continue this tomorrow. All right, time for our final break here of hour number 2. We're back to wrap up the show next year on Sports Nightly.
So, when do you think you'll be done with our kitchen renovation?
Well, ma'am, the Italian marble countertops will take a while to get in.
No problem. In the meantime, you can start on the spiral staircase.
What?
If you win Mega Millions from the Nebraska Lottery with a jackpot that starts in the millions in drawings Tuesdays and Fridays, you can afford to go a little mega.
So you want us to build a spiral staircase?
Well, how else are we supposed to get up to the helipad? Oh, good. My husband's home.
Top prize odds 1 in 302 million.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts. Husker fans, looking for a seat in Memorial Stadium? Custom 3-game mini plans are available now for only $195. Choose any combination of the 6 games available. Matchups available in the 3-game plan include the home opener versus Fordham, Buffalo, Northwestern, Michigan, Purdue, and Iowa. Don't miss this opportunity to join the greatest fans in college sports and help fill Memorial Stadium. To build your mini plan, visit Huskers.com/tickets or call 1-800-8-BIG-RED.
If there's one thing that you can count on every spring, it's that we're going to have to deal with some hail. J-Tech Construction is the company to call to make it right again. J-Tech Construction specializes in siding, roofing, windows, and gutters, even solar. They're trained for insurance claims assistance, and they can help with your insurance company. Turn to the team the Huskers turn to, J-Tech Construction. Use your favorite search engine to find J-Tech Construction online and schedule a free estimate today.
Welcome back to our final segment here on this Thursday edition of Sports Nightly with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody, and it's been a fun week.
It has been, and kind of busy, too. How about that, you know?
Yeah, and we've got a pretty big show coming up tomorrow.
Yep. We're going to talk with Amy Gant. We've been talking volleyball all week because that's what we do in Nebraska in the summer. We have Amy Gant, who's one of the analysts for NBC Sports, and a colleague of mine and a friend of mine who she'll be alongside Kenny Albert, fresh off his Stanley Cup call for NBC Sports. But she's doing volleyball, and she will be following Team USA and the Huskers and Jordan Larson. And she's followed Jordan's career throughout the years and knows of Kelsey and Justine. And so we'll get her take on Nebraska as well as Team USA's chances beginning July 24th.
And also Kelly Kroll, who's with the Braves. She's spoke with some executives with inside the scouting of the Braves, and high praise for Spencer Schwellenbach that you'll want to hear. They expect big things from him.
They seem excited about that. And congratulations to Kevin Kopps of Arkansas, who today won the Golden Spikes Award as the top baseball player drafted after both Spencer Schwellenbach and Kate Povich. How about that?
The week has flown by, but it seems like it was a month ago that we were talking Major League Baseball draft.
Yeah, it does.
Like 3 days ago, 2 days ago.
Spencer's probably in AA by now, you know?
But, man, what a week. I was talking with a couple of the people with the athletics department, and they said, man, you came at a crazy time. Normally, like, the summer's kind of slow, and it's been pretty wild around here.
Yeah, and you learned how to pronounce Hooper and Norfolk, and it's been a bit
population
big week.
of Nebraska. And, yeah.
Got to hang out with John Cook a little bit and get to know his personality, too, Coach Osborne. Yeah, it's really exciting, though, to see Nebraska move into a new era with Trev, and excited about what's ahead for the future, and but then to also think about those great Huskers who we'll see in a week in the Olympics in volleyball and I think there are a few other sports where Nebraska's represented, but that's neat too.
Okay, so I know you're preparing to call your sports, but if just as a fan, number one, what are you most excited to watch this year?
I'm probably like a billion other people. I'm excited to see Simone Biles to do her thing. I wish there were 25,000 people, but to see her come back at the age of 24 and after the extra year, I think she was primed a year ago. I know Tim Daggett, who does the color analyst with Nastia Lukin and Terry Gannon, and when you talk to people behind the scenes about the greatness of somebody that you've been talking about on the air, he is very effusive in just how special she is and what we are seeing, because, usually they're in their teens, but a 24-year-old woman who's accomplished so much and has so much on her shoulders and what she's going to do, I think is really cool. Katie Ledecky's great, but archery is carrying the day. Come on.
I know. So I guess Simone's got a documentary that's going out on her Facebook page, and I don't know if it was last night's episode or a couple nights ago. I was reading an article about it, but she's on Dancing with the Stars a few years ago, and her coach or her partner that was with her on Dancing with the Stars is helping her choreograph her floor routine.
Oh, really?
So she's kind of, and she talked about kind of taking more control over the routines this year, and so a lot of it, you do what the coach tells you to do, right? But this year it's going to be a lot of what she wanted to do with her routines.
Yeah, well, that's impressive. But I think as great as she has been as a gymnast, I think that there are greater things ahead for her as an ambassador for her sport and for sports. She's really, really impressive. And I think that we are witnessing, something special in watching her competing in the Olympics.
We're going to keep talking Olympics. Is it now, 6 days away, 7 days away, and volleyball 8 days away, I think, from getting started. So we've got lots more Olympic volleyball to talk about coming up tomorrow, and a Major League Baseball draft. So another show in the books with Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. Thanks to Andrew Dowdy and Mike Elliott and the Nebraska Department of Transportation, our sponsor. Buckle up and put the phone down. A reminder from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. And we'll talk to you tomorrow on Friday on Sports Nightly.
hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.